Hello. I think we're live now. Oh, well, they can't hear blue. I don't think they can hear you, blue. One moment. Alright, let's try that. Now they should hear you.
Okay, maybe you can hear me now.
One of these times we'll have a flawless intro. I was so proud of getting the music
Yeah,
on time and everything.
people can hear me now. Okay, cool. Yeah, people in the stream chat, give us feedback on whether I am too loud or Specialist too silent, too quiet, or something like that. Just so we know. Especially, I'll keep an eye on stream chat for you, as last time.
Awesome.
And yeah, maybe let's introduce what we're doing today. So there was a stream a couple of days ago, 2 days ago, 3 days ago. You know, time is nothing but a concept to me. Where we talked about a new development pipeline, and we've been lately going over a couple of modules. Before we did that stream a couple of days ago, we talked about a metallurgy revamp, where there are a couple of changes to metallurgy coming, one of our data packs. And another module that we need to revamp, we looked at, and it's kind of underused right now because it was a bit overnerfed, or people just don't use it the way we expected them to, is Spawner Minecarts. So today's stream is going to be about brainstorming ideas on how Spawner Minecarts should work in the future, how we make it more useful, and how we make it more useful without making it incredibly OP, which is always kind of hard with Spawner Minecarts. I am normal volume, says Epian, who's in this call.
Awesome. I used the same volume settings from last time, so let's... Anyone who knows how to use World Edit, do you know how to copy with entities? Is it /E?
You're asking the wrong group of people.
Yeah, I know, I'm asking
Maybe
wrong
in
people.
chat there's someone.
Oh, what is this? EBEMEC? Ooh.
You could use a structure block.
I think it's too big for a structure block. I just want to save this stage before I delete it.
I mean, you don't need to save it with entities, right? We have command blocks for all entities.
Oh, it's an old stage, so it has some spawner minecarts in it.
Oh, I see. I am... A bird is whispering into my ear. The command is /copy -e.
-E. Alright. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cool. In theory, that's saved, and if not, we've got backups.
Till the backup
I don't have more than
you have to /paste -e as well, apparently. Maybe.
That's fine. I saved it to a schematic. I hope.
Alright.
Do I need /E as well in the schematic?
It'll be fine.
Unknown format E. Well. Yeah, I can be safe. 1 second.
If you want to join us, we will do this brainstorming session on the stream server, which is stream.gm4.co. Open right now, no longer open after the stream, but you can join it right now too. Or just do stuff, maybe. And we also have live audio in Discord in case you're watching the stream live, but you don't, but you want to hear our audio live when you're on the stream server instead of hearing our audio very delayed. Dutch is a funny language. Oh, my jump and run!
Oh yeah,
You can
sorry.
do everything, but don't take my jump and run.
There you go. Okay, so this.
Wait, that's not Spawner Minecarts.
That's Tunnel Wars.
That's Tunnel Wars. I haven't seen this stage in so long. Oh, there it goes again.
It's fine. Don't worry about it. Look, I'm just enjoying using all these controls that I made. It just go, okay, there we go. Fresh stage, ready to go.
We don't have a Spawner Minecart stage anymore?
No, we haven't had one in a while. The last Spawner Minecarts we did on the old stage.
Actually, and we can't copy that over?
Do you want it? It won't
I
fit.
want it.
Do you want to take a real quick?
Let's take a trip down memory lane.
Because we did archive that stage ages ago. I doubt any of the commands work though.
I
It'll be in the back here.
think fire tick. Why?
It is off.
Why
Don't
is
worry.
the
It's
why is
because
the
I came
floor made
here.
of lava again?
It's because I came here for a while without fire tick on and had to turn it off immediately. So some of the fire started.
What was this? These particles? Oh, this was from Sour Cauldrons at some point.
Here it is. Here's the old stage blue. I'm at it.
I am
Teleport.
lost in like memories. That's the old stage. Yeah, I remember this.
So it's been a little bit since I've used Spawner Minecarts. I'm actually not sure if I've ever used Spawner Minecarts myself.
Yeah,
Since
maybe
this
let's
point in time.
before we start, let's revamp for everyone and go over how it works.
Yeah.
Now, which will be really easy with this old stage. Okay, so Spawner Minecarts. Basically, it originated back in 1.1 Stone Age, and it was originally made by Ease Maps. I don't know if they are still active for Hermitcraft Gamemode 4. And
I haven't heard
back,
from Ease in forever.
I will not comment on the topic. And back in the day, the way it used to work is you took a piston, like this.
It's definitely not gonna work.
It's definitely not gonna work. Okay, still set the block though. Now, like, push this button. Huh. I mean, that's something at least. So you took a piston, you put a minecart below, and you put a block on top, and then it would the piston redstone block on top, and that would make the piston extend and put the spawner in the minecart. And you could use activator rails to get the spawner out again. And that worked. However, there was one issue. You could just have like an activator rail like this below the spawner and the redstone block on top, and it would constantly flop the spawner back and forth and would give you incredibly fast spawn speeds of the mobs because the mobs spawned immediately upon the spawning being placed. So we wanted to change that, and we wanted to make it so that people don't only use the spawner minecarts just as a means of transport for spawners, but we wanted to make the spawner minecarts a special block that people use and work with instead of just being a means of transport. So we came up with this incredibly complicated system of spawner minecarts, having this trade-off of you can choose where they are as a spawner, obviously, but you have to fuel them. And you can either wait for a passive refuel, which will happen over time. As you do nothing, it will just refuel. Or you can actively refuel it using flowers nearby.
The idea was it was absorbing life energy.
Yeah, and what we wanted to see is people basically moving the minecarts between the monster spawning room. When they're using the minecarts, you'd have the monster spawning chamber, and then when you're done using it, you'd move it back to a recharging station. That would look like this. By the way, this is a fully built recharging station. Why was Separary having such trouble with recharging station? This is even tileable. I guess there's an just here, but it can be fixed.
If it's already fully charged, you can't tell.
Say that again?
It would only trigger when it charged. It wouldn't trigger if it was already fully charged.
Ah, okay. Anyways, yeah, the idea was that people would move it between the spawning room and the recharging room. But that never really happened. Whether that is because the Gamemode 4 community isn't an infinite pool of people and people just don't do research anymore at some point if they don't feel like it, or whether it is because it's too hard is up for debate, but that's not the point of today's stream. Today's stream is to reimagine the module in a new way that will give it new life and make it more useful again.
Yeah. Do we want to talk a little bit about the Boots of Astara meta kind of collaboration? Also,
yeah.
I enabled Spawner Minecarts, so...
Okay, going further down
let's see
memory lane. So after this module was present e-user is pulling from data folder.
Yeah, that's just formatting. Don't worry about that.
So,
it's meant for the public server.
So before, after EastMaps made the module, we then ported it to the public server, I think on PS4, which was like, I don't know, 6 years ago or something.
Yeah, I think so.
And it received an update like 5 years ago, where this entire stuff here was introduced. And this worked fine, we thought it worked fine. However, the meta that developed itself was that players used another module of ours called Boots of Astara to exploit spawner minecarts. So spawner minecarts were able to recharge by absorbing flowers, thereby destroying the flower, or by absorbing grass blocks and thereby turning the grass blocks into dirt blocks. There's another module of ours called Boots of Astara, which if you put Boots of Astara on, you can turn grass below you to dirt below you to grass, and that also works on armor stands. So what people ended up doing for multiple public servers was they had a spawner minecart, and then they just put up a couple of Boots of Astara on dirt blocks around the spawner minecart, which would then turn the dirt into grass blocks really quickly, and that would refuel the spawner reliably. But it was a really boring way to fuel the cart, but it was incredibly overpowered, so people used it.
Yeah.
So then we decided to take a look at spawner minecarts again and change the way it works. And we tweaked the amount of spawner charge you get from grass blocks and reduced that to a negligible amount, like I think 1 charge or something, and the spawner can hold at max 300.
It's really slow. It's
really slow. So you could still charge by grass blocks, but it would be really slow. And at that point, people stopped using spawner minecarts. We have to be a bit careful here with correlating these two things. It could also be that the people who used spawner minecarts before just left the server, those who did the innovation. And that the ones who were left just didn't feel the need to innovate again and just use the spawners raw. But regardless, people started using the spawners instead of bothering with spawner minecarts. That was all like 2 or 3 years ago, and now we're here. We want to update it again, maybe reimagine it completely. That's, I think, the plan for tonight, to figure out how to reimagine the module completely to make it something that's worthwhile again. Or that's something on its own, at least. Yeah, some people are saying, I've never used spawner minecarts, not even 4 years ago. That's why I'm saying we have to be a bit careful, because there are some people that definitely would never bother with spawner minecarts, because it's really technical. It's a technical module for technical players, honestly. Other players just build their spawners somewhere.
Yeah.
Wherever the spawner is. Okay.
Let's go back to
Get back to the main stage, build up an idea board. Oh, this is Liquid Tanks 1.14.
Oh yeah, there's
Liquid Tanks 1.14, wow. What's this?
Where's Brew?
This is the original Shroomite stage.
Yeah, these are the original stages from a while ago. We had a whole archive system.
Wave of modules.
We had a whole archive system set up for Transport Layer and I for like keeping track of things. This is when we still developed with the command blocks. I think this is the only one we developed with command blocks, because Shroomites was done as a data pack. No, this is that Shields Shamir.
The Shields Shamir?
The one that was supposed to like Protegus. There's a chest down here with some of them. The unreleased Protegus Shamir, which was supposed to like stop you from burning in lava and stuff, I think.
Oh, I remember.
I don't know if any of these commands... Oh, they are still in here. Awesome. Font magic.
Over here is the original Phantom Scarecrows death location, which is what happened like backstage was Saturday afternoon. TL does still exist.
Yeah.
I need to respond to TL. TL wished me a Happy New Year and Merry Christmas, and I didn't respond to it. I'm sorry, TL, if you're watching this.
Hello.
I will respond. This is the original Phantom Scarecrows stage. Well, it wasn't a stage, it happened on a lonely Saturday afternoon.
I missed this part of the stream world. Anyway, the new one's got cool stuff.
Why is there helix out of water and lava?
Blame Toffee. It's always Toffee's fault.
Oh, huh. Invisible parkour. That's Toffee.
Yeah.
Somewhere around here there's Stack Attack. I know that.
I don't think Stack Attack is on here.
Stack Attack is on here.
If it is, it's nowhere I've ever seen it.
Stack Attack is next to the Communist Diamond Castle.
That's also on here? Oh gosh.
Correct.
We might have to have some words.
Okay, let's get back to the stage before I get carried away.
I am there if you just would like to teleport.
Ooh, the metallurgy stage. That's how we call it. Interesting.
Um,
Oh, the prison.
how are these organized?
Gamemode
Oh,
for stream chat.
alphabetically. That's much better. They read the order of
I found Peep's original scuba gear testing chamber.
Yeah, we have the water area from the aquatic update in there somewhere.
Yeah. Is someone of the synchronous swimming team still on here? On stream, maybe? I know Kratos was in there, but he's not around tonight. Okay, I need to get back, otherwise I'll get carried away. Okay. We need to put up an idea board, so I'll build us an idea board. It just went dark.
Yeah, I've left one light on
Yeah,
for
you
spawning,
turned off the light.
so we can
Oh,
so things can spawn hopefully. Although I guess it doesn't have any charge. Oh, there it goes.
I'm not used to this new creative inventory yet.
Yeah, me either. I was trying to find the zombie spawn egg because it used to be like at the start, but now it's alphabetical, which is objectively better. But
It is better. I'm not opposed to these changes, I'm just not used to them. Okay, this is a spot to place our ideas on science with glowing. What is torch in Dutch?
are you playing in Dutch still?
Fucker. There you go. Yeah, I am. Which makes the search really agonizing to use. Okay. Ideas. We'll only write down ideas that we actually are sure about. But let's talk about Spawner Minecarts. So, there were a couple of ideas. I think especially you had a sort of imagination fever dream thing with Spawner Minecarts.
That was more of a soul probes thing. So originally, spawner minecarts and soul probes went hand in hand, so you could change the spawner type. But I think we should design them separately.
Yeah, I'm still not a big fan of soul probes, but
Yeah,
whatever.
I think that's a whole other question to figure out.
So the thing I've been toying with lately is the original update that moved spawner minecarts away from something that you just used to transport spawners was meant to make it so that people used spawner minecarts. And I've been toying with the idea if that thinking maybe was totally wrong. Because in the end, minecarts are always something you use to transport something. And maybe the thought of forcing people to only use these spawner minecarts as minecarts, not being able to put the spawner back out again, was just wrong. Maybe we should just return to something that was just for minecart transport, and rather than like designing complex refueling systems, we make it so that this minecart behaves a bit differently to other minecarts, like it's harder to transport it. So the challenge is in actually, like, it makes it possible to move a spawner, but it still won't be easy to move the spawner. E.g., obviously mobs spawn already if you have to spawn a minecart, but we could make it so that the minecart goes really slow, or you have to push it with a furnace minecart, something like that. That's what I've been toying around with lately. It's very dark here. Can we get...
Yeah, I was trying to get them to spawn. I'll turn on the lights.
Yeah, sadly with spawner minecarts, well, minecart with spawner, you can't see what mob is inside. That's a Minecraft thing that Minecraft just doesn't do, which is kind of annoying. Just doesn't show anything inside. Doesn't give the spawner particles. Wait, didn't it used to give the fire particles?
that's when it spawns something.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Also, I don't think they have fire particles when they're lit up.
Alright. Then, well, what do we think about, like, my fever dream? Where do we want to move to?
I did like so things from the last thing that I was kind of either proud of or liked the feel of was I liked the like passive recharging, like because that system worked even when you weren't online, which I thought was pretty cool. Like even when the spawner minecart wasn't loaded, it will passively recharge. So if you log out, as long as the world is still running, if you log out and come back in the next, like log into the server the next day, your minecart will have passively recharged even if the trunks weren't loaded. I did like that as a like technical feature, not necessarily as a gameplay feature, but I thought that was kind of neat and might be something to think about. I did also like the from a lore perspective, it consuming life, but the way that ended up working, I don't think was, obviously wasn't great, and maybe we should be careful to not necessarily limit ourselves to that if need be, if that makes sense.
Beeps. Thinking beeps noises.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you say something?
You're very quiet.
Yeah, so I guess first of all we should decide, do we still want... I was gonna say, do we still want this refueling system? But I guess that also boils down to, do we want to allow players to get the spawners back out of minecarts? Because my reimagining would allow that, and then you don't need a refueling system, obviously, because then people will just get the spawners out of the minecart, right?
Yeah. So I think the last if I remember the discussion or some of the discussion from the last time, we did talk about. I think that was part of the reasoning for not like adding back in that you can get the spawner out of the minecart. But I think there was also some discussion of if we give incentive for leaving it in the minecart versus taking it out of the minecart, that might be useful. Like, you could eject it if you want a normal spawner, just deal with a normal spawner. Or you could leave it in the minecart for some extra perks, but I don't think that... We'd have to come up with the perks and figure out how to balance that in the long run.
The perk that you can stack them in the same
Yeah.
block.
I was gonna say that we totally neglected that last time, but that's a huge perk. Leave it in minecart. You can have a ton of them in one block.
Because I know previously they most people would make a pile like this, which is a destructive way to stack them. But like you'd eject one here, and then you'd eject one below it, and so you'd have this like tower of spawners in your
Can't pick it up
grinder.
again.
But now you can never put these back into a cart, and that's kind of...
Maybe we should
I didn't
talk
necessarily
about
like that.
But before we start about like this entire mechanic on how it's gonna work, we should talk about the picking up mechanic. Because the picking up mechanic... Oh, you can actually get these now with Middle. That's so nice. Huh. So, I mentioned earlier that you had to use a redstone block, and I was very specific about a redstone block here, because it only worked with a redstone block. There is a sort of problem that with commands you cannot really... So, how should I demonstrate this? Let me just get some lamps. So if we have like a redstone lamp here, and we have some redstone dust, this lamp can be powered directly, like this, and then you could check for like redstone dust somewhere. But if you look at this other lamp here to the side, if I just like get a block here, this lamp is now powered indirectly. And the issue is that if this wouldn't be a lamp block, but just a normal, imagine the lamp is like our piston. It is powered when the lamp is on. So when do we know that the lamp is on? The lamp is on when one of the blocks adjacent to the lamp, around here, is redstone powered. But sadly there's no command way of us testing whether a block, like you can imagine this block here, this has a powered state right now, it's powered. But that is not stored anywhere on the block, it's something that the lamp checks for. And therefore we can't easily with commands query if some arbitrary block is powered, and therefore we cannot see if this piston here on the spawner, if this is receiving power by like some
Yeah, we'd have to
block on the
check
side.
we'd have to check like every place it can be powered from for sources
Which
like
is
lit redstone dust and lamps and torches, which at that point is just like re-implementing redstone.
yeah, that's a bit too much. But I never really liked the fact that you had to use a redstone block. I think that was quite unintuitive.
Yeah. I agree with the unintuitive part, but I do really like the rest of it. To be honest, I really like the feel of pushing it into a cart, making it
Yeah, I
feel.
like
It's
that
because it's
too,
still
but
it's still like an immovable thing. It's still hard to deal with.
I mean, there are other blocks. So we also have to think about the competition here these days, because apparently there are other spawner minecart packs that do this, and some of them do it by only driving a minecart below. I've browsed
dumb.
through Minecraft a couple times, and that
Actually,
caused a lot of issues.
I've never bothered to check for other spawner minecart packs. What do
Yeah,
they
there are
do?
more on Planet Minecraft.
Do you wanna go through some?
Most of, yeah, I mean, yeah, well, would that
does that count for?
Can we even do that on stream?
Sure. Let me.
So there are some others. Some of them have some problems, it seems like, but there are some others. There's competition in the space. So whatever we do, it needs to be the Gamemode 4 way of doing it. God's Revel Lance, Tremble. Yeah, I think that's the one that I saw.
Oh yeah, it just sucks it down. Yeah.
Correct.
I don't really.
You can force it also use an activator rail, which is basically the same as it used to be, but without a piston.
I do really like ours better than this, to be honest.
I don't like automatic sucking action like that, because like there's nothing on the rail telling the minecart to suck up the spawn, right?
Yeah. Maybe if it was like a hopper minecart or like an ender hopper minecart, but
sucks the spawner so hard that the spawner sticks to it. What's that lower one? It's like the same
this one
image.
Here? It doesn't have any list of features, it just has a video.
Downloaded by Patreon? Huh.
There's no voiceover, okay.
Okay, I'll do the voiceover. He's digging a rail, he's placing a rail. Cut.
It looks like it's going to be the same thing. It looks like it's going to suck it up. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very long video for.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I like the piston mechanic. I think that's pretty cool. You're not going to like accidentally run into that, which is nice.
We should streamline it though. Would there be some modern way of like detecting redstone somehow? I mean, the piston has a powered state. No, it has an extended.
It has
state.
an extended state.
Huh.
There might be a way with falling block. So if you have a minecart under a spawner.
Special the stream is.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out why it went black. Oh, there it goes. Okay. It went black when I transitioned to the other window, but then it was like, Minecraft doesn't exist.
Tag49 says, I'm new to the stream, but for the piston thing, can you detect MBT tag if the piston is powered? Pistons are not tile entities, so they don't have MBT. They do have a couple of, especially if you look at this with F3, they do have a couple of clock tags, but they don't have a powered state. They can only track whether they're extended. If I just put a piston here, you can see it goes from extended falls to Drew, but it doesn't know what a block here.
You'll run into this if you do like for example, if you try to push something that you can't push. Actually, spawner minecart.
Spawner, yeah.
So, like if you power this, it's already been powered, but if you remove the block, oh, I guess then it goes. But Oh, yeah, I can do redstone. I
Yeah,
promise.
it only has an extended state.
So-
Something that has a powered state though is a dropper. Dropper?
Can't push
Hey,
that.
you're-
But if you break this doesn't update because breaking this spawner, this spawner doesn't give this piston an update to make it check again. So you have to break the immovable block and then give the piston an update. So it doesn't store whether it's powered or not, which is weird.
They can't change that anymore though, because the tech community will really complain if you introduce a power tech.
Yeah.
So, dispensers have a power state though, and droppers.
It doesn't. The piston feels so satisfying.
Yeah, I was
You know?
thinking if we could maybe disguise a dispenser as a piston, but that would require like a special block and
We can simulate it. So what we need to do is that if we see that there's a minecart under a spawner and a downwards facing piston, we would replace the spawner with a falling block of a spawner, and then the piston would be actually able to extend.
Oh. Can we get a mock-up of that? Let me get some command blocks
I
here.
think so. Because I mean, currently the reason the piston extends is because the module breaks the
Yeah,
spawner.
which updates the piston.
But if we do the other direction and use that to detect if it's powered. Oh gosh, my inventory is so full of stuff.
It wouldn't be a spawn anyways if it's
Yeah.
falling.
I think it would just be like you temporarily replace the spawner to see if the piston's powered, but then we'd have to find a way to put the piston back with all of its data.
What do you mean? The spawn, I mean, not the piston.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if this will work smooth. We should try it.
Unless
but-
you're saying replace the piston with a dropper for a tick, see if it's powered, and then go from there. Does setting a dropper check its state?
should
Like
try.
if you because this says it's triggered false until like it's a what? Oh, that's right. The F3 menu does not update. I forgot about that.
Oh yeah, the F3 menu is great about this. But I can tell you that if we have a piston facing a spawner, and we set lock the spawner to air without destroy, it still updates the piston, so... We could just single tick replace the spawner with a falling block. I wonder, Beeps, you did some command block and versus function update order stuff, right? Subtick order.
Oh.
Do you
yeah.
reckon we could destroy the spawner with one tick? Let the piston extend, and then in the same tick check if the piston extended, and if so, then we move it to the minecart, and if not, we place the spawner back.
There we go. If you stand on a
It may work
Trigger
if we have the
dropper.
correct tick order.
It does not. Setting a dropper next to a powered source is apparently not update itself
Yep, only if you
until
place
you give it an
in the
update.
click. Did you realize I just said that was special?
I heard it and it didn't stick in my brain.
So you know about subtick order, right? You know that like running stuff from command blocks runs at a different time than functions.
Yes.
Which is what we use to like pick stuff up from hoppers before they can collect it.
Oh, in machines,
So-
yeah. Live machines.
Yeah. Now the idea is,
Yeah.
if you look at this,
So
the
that's
piston here, right?
tech-
If I set this to
the
air
only
the spawner, it will immediately extend the piston.
for it is to power. it gets dispensed into a block.
Didn't completely get that, but do you want to repeat it?
Beeps might be broken.
Okay, anyway, so if you have a spawner here.
Not great. Yes.
And I set this to air. Piston updates immediately. So maybe, I'm not sure about this, maybe there's a way to do this with one tick. So remove the block, see if the piston now changed to extended and extend it through. And if it did, then we know the piston was powered. But if it didn't change to extended, then just place the spawner back within the same tick so the player can't notice. I'm not sure whether this will work, whether it's possible. Depends a lot on like update order. But it might.
It take for the piston to start extending.
But does that mean it takes a tick before it updates its block state, or does that happen immediately?
Let me see if I can find that sub-tick order diagram.
Because we only need to read the block state.
There used to be a really good diagram on the commands Discord about the order in which functions and everything ran, but I can't find it anywhere.
I just DM'd you.
Oh, thank you, everyone. Alright, so it looks like, looking at Misode's tick order,
Special.
Yeah.
Open your go to ground.
1 sec, I'm on a different window.
Right. Yeah. No. Okay, go on the ground. Open your inventory. I'll drop you an item.
Oh gosh.
Hover over it.
I'll have to show stream in a second. Okay. We'll get back to that in a second. Okay, so, oh gosh, where did the window go? There it is. So in tick, there's entity, there's server tick. When do functions run? That doesn't really say in here, does it? Okay. Oh, right there. Okay. So run scheduled commands would happen first.
When do the blocks?
That's what I'm looking for those. Because command blocks, if we're looking to do this in the same tick, we'd have to use like a command block and a force loaded chunk to get the right timing in addition to a function.
The timing works.
Yeah. And I'm not sure. Tick block entities would be here.
But it's not a block entity.
The command block would be. So as long as it's between here and functions, it should be okay, but I only see entities there. Where's all redstone?
Okay, let me see.
I don't see redstone in here at all.
I am sad to say that using soft command blocks, it doesn't work. Command block is too late, apparently. Currently, I'm setting air first, then seeing if the piston is extended. But I'm getting.
I would imagine it happens like in this same section as command blocks, because that's like a block update, kind of. So
command blocks are too late. If I set the block to air, the spawner with air, to air with a command block, and try to use command blocks to see if it's rejected or extended, it will say.
It doesn't update within the same tick.
Well, not between these two command blocks, which makes sense. But
So it's scheduled to have a
What?
block update, but that doesn't happen.
it doesn't
In the
happen
same tick.
instantly. It doesn't happen instantly. That's what I want to say. This only shows that it would happen instantly or not, right?
Yeah. So it happens
It might
after
happen a
this
tick
set
later.
of command blocks.
Correct. Wait, let me do a delay thing.
Yeah, just do like a 1 tick delay.
Oh, what are times, right? I'll delay the command block 1 tick later. Set block. Where are we going? Positive set, so 190.
We put all these. Actually, this stage is 90 degrees, isn't it? The strips on the floor used to be for command blocks. Oh, they still are actually. Never mind. I lied. These were designed so you could do our module coiling on the glass.
Module coiling, those were the days.
Those were the days.
I hope this is how it works.
Yeah, it looks fine.
That
Oh, I faced. I killed your command block. I'm sorry. Let me fix that. I haven't done this in a long time.
Oh,
Data merge block. Yeah, just place the command block in there again, please. Okay, now try. Try now. There's a pulse.
1 second. The setup wasn't right.
Oh, there's no
Alright,
command.
there we
in
go.
it. Special.
There's no command. I copied with NVT and everything.
It doesn't even run.
Yeah.
What? How did the piston pop off? Oh. Okay, place 2 new blocks to figure out if it's rejected or extended. Give it a go. The second one said nothing?
The second one is another. You copied the wrong one.
Ah, shit.
We're doing great. Professional commanders, people.
We haven't done like actual physical command block work in so long, I feel like this is okay. Okay. The problem is if we wait 1 tick. Why I didn't want to do that is because then people might see the flicker.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, so the
second
next,
com-
by the next tick, it's extended. But
So what if by the next
It
tick
would-
we place
it
the
would-
spawner back?
you'd hear
You don't hear it if you...
noise. I mean, you could stop sound it, but it would still have a visual flicker. Also, here's the firework that Blue showed me. This is... Oh, that's terrifying. I wonder if it'll blow up my computer. You want to try it?
You can try. I think I optimized it quite a bit, so it should be fine now.
Back on Gamemode 4D, this firework used to like freeze my computer because I was on a weird laptop.
Okay, so now I made it so that if it detects it not being extended, it will place the spawner back. That was to be expected. Okay, so now we do this. That was the wrong
working as
block.
intended.
Okay, let me try that again. Okay. Yeah, you can see the flicker though
Yeah,
if
it
you do it like
flickers
that.
for a tick.
You could spawn a falling block there during that 1 tick.
Should we try the function thing first to see if the function order allows us to do it before 1 tick, before we do the spawn falling block?
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the best way is to develop on the server right now though.
There's...
Um,
it's hard.
It's hard.
Yeah. I almost feel like this
Stupid.
might be a
Try that.
later thing, you know?
Okay, but this is an idea. Let's
It's,
note
it's
an
an
idea.
idea.
We wanted to brainstorm.
Do you want to come
So-
up with some other ideas, like, over the next, 10, 15 minutes to see if we like any of them better before we resign to trying to do cursed tick order?
Caustic order ain't bad.
It's not super cursed. It's a little cursed. This TNT block is really stressing me out over here.
There's a flower on top, don't worry about it, it's nice. Got a flower.
I was
Okay,
making sure there wasn't flint and steel in the gift shop.
Maybe let's move on from like the capturing of spawners part to actual mechanics. So what do we think about re-releasing spawners into block form? I think that's something we should do. It was kind of a mistake in the first place too. I think minecarts are there to transport stuff. They aren't there to be permanent solutions, and I think that's what kind of missed. I think if we want to make it harder, we should make the transport part kind of a minigame challenge thing, instead of forcing players to use the spawner in minecart form.
I think we should let them take it out of the minecart.
Stack.
I think I agree with letting them take them out of the minecart. I was trying to think if there's any reason to like have it be chance based or something, but that just seems silly. People just get frustrated if
Yeah.
if their spawners might explode.
Plus, I mean, there's still valid reasons to have it in the minecart. If you have it in a minecart, you can stack them, which is a plus, right? But if you have it as a block, it's less laggy, I guess. It's easier to deal with, so people let them have their choice, I think.
Yeah,
And
I
we can still make the transport a sort of minigame.
Yeah,
think.
I do still not like that you can destructively do this, but I mean, I guess if you want to, that's kind of your own fault, or something, right? Like, we don't necessarily have to support fixing this mistake.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how you'd fix that, because you don't want to make spawners pushable in general. That's kind of
Yeah.
impossible, either. Anyways. So you could allow pushing him from the side, I guess,
Sideways? Yeah.
but that doesn't make sense because the minecart opening is at top. If we really want to fix that destructive stacking thing, could allow that.
This like macro construction that's showing up over here is really something.
Wait, special, are we holding hands?
What if we held hands in the minecart blue?
In the minecart? On
In the
code or
minecart that's
something?
about to get smashed with a spawner. With an infernal cage from the depths.
Okay, so let's let them release the cards again. I think we should still add like our own flavors. There should be some danger to transporting the card, I feel like. It's like, except for just the spawners. Something that comes to mind is it sucks when you transport it, it sucks the life out of things around it. I'm not sure if it's over the top.
Like as it's driving around?
Yeah.
That'd be kind of neat.
I want to keep the thing interesting. It should have our own touch on it. You're moving spawners. It should come at some cost.
Could make it like a tower defense game, but then people would just build tunnels.
Yeah,
Like
I mean,
if it was like an egg, like a turtle egg, and you had to defend it from hordes or something.
the problem with like having to defend something in this game is that you can always cheese mob AI.
Yeah.
So I'd rather have something where it sucks the life out of things around it. I don't know, it spreads. If you move it around, it spreads Skulk.
It spreads shroommites. Ooh, actually, that's an interesting point. Do we want to do any Skulk interactions with this? Because
I mean,
they're
this is
very
kind of
similar.
related. Yeah. It could be that if you move it around, it spreads Skulk or something. It creates Skulk charges as you move it around. But then on the other hand, Skulk isn't really dangerous when it spreads. Like,
Yeah.
only the naturally generated, on-world generated catalysts are actually dangerous. And
No,
you
you
could
can-
even argue that even those aren't.
All catalysts are dangerous. I think it's the Shriekers that are the problem. I think,
But
right?
the things that spawn the Maiden are only naturally spawned, and
Yeah, you
naturally generated ones. That's what I mean.
Yeah. The only...
So, Skulk isn't really dangerous except for the cleanup you have to do. But cleanup you have to do is still something to consider. It could also be cool if you push the spawner into the minecart the first time, it will spread like Shriekers and Skulk around it. And I mean, it's up to us to decide whether they would spawn with like Warden spawning abilities. Maybe that was what drove the ancient to their doom. They wanted to move the spawners, you know? Now
I've
that I
been
say it, I
thinking
like
a lot
that
about
idea a lot.
ancient city lore, and there's a lot of it. Oh gosh.
Now that I think about it, I like that idea a lot. So you push it in the minecart, and that starts like a Skulk outbreak locally. And then as you move the minecart around, everywhere it goes, it will leave a trail of Skulk stuff. Until you put it back in.
Well, that doesn't have any incentive to keep it in the cart at that point, you know?
Well, the incentive is already there. I don't think we need to put another one in, because the incentive is that you can stack them if you have them in the cart.
Yeah.
And you don't really care about a bit of like Skulk vines or whatever these are called in the spawner room.
Veins.
Veins.
Yeah.
Skulk ader. What they call it in Dutch apparently. Oops, sorry. And what do you think, Pix?
Yeah, I like that idea.
Especially you don't seem convinced yet.
Might be,
I'm not sure.
it might be hard to simulate it.
Yeah, I don't know if you can force blooms, you know?
Can't we
At least
just
not
spawn
the
the
same
Skulk
one.
chart? Wait, the Skulk charges, are they? What are
That's
they?
not an entity.
It's not an entity.
No.
What is it?
It's like
It's a
something in limbo.
it's in memory. It's like a property of the block, and yeah.
Yeah, they're not an entity, huh?
They
can't
do
really
they
just
do
do
move
that.
around, but I think it's a oh, the Skulk isn't even an NB. It's good it's not a data, but not a block entity, but
So we'd have to simulate.
yeah. Or
Yeah.
place a
Place
catalyst,
kill
kill
something.
something, and yeah.
They
I
move the
wonder if
catalyst.
that's a single tick operation.
Yeah, but you can't rely on there being a
There's no
slot where
way
you can
that's a
place the
single
catalyst.
tip.
Yeah, that's true.
But I guess we could simulate it.
It looked
We've made
real
algorithms
weird.
for that before.
True.
It also
we
feels a
could.
little thematically weird, because like Skulk spreads when you kill something, and the spawner does the opposite of that. So why does the spawner also kill something, you know?
True.
It's like it's
The
doing
Skulk
both
was
opposite
contained
things.
all the time and it got out when you... I don't know.
They're like even different colors and stuff too. Like
You
spawners are
killed the
fiery
connection.
and
You killed the connection between the spawner and the world.
that's how we talked about last time. You put it in the cart and it traps it away from the flow of magic energy through the world.
To me, it makes enough sense.
Hmm.
You just have to make sure that actually moving a spawner and spreading the Skulk, thereby spreading the Skulk, actually presents a challenge. It isn't just trivial.
I don't know what you would do to make it like presenting a challenge though, you know?
Well, you'd have to make sure you don't get too close to your stuff because you don't want your stuff to be all skulked over. So I guess being skulked over isn't really dangerous.
Yeah, it's not really dangerous. It only replaces like stone and
just
stuff.
be annoying.
Yeah, it would just be annoying. Assuming we simulated the same
Turkish would
skull
like to
replacement
speak.
stuff.
What are you saying, Beats?
Kirkus would like to speak.
Do
How
we
do you
allow
do that
Kirkus to
in
speak?
Discord?
I can allow Kirkus to speak. Kirkus is now allowed to speak.
Hello,
There's
hello.
so many
How did I
chairs.
get it? I didn't even sit on a saddle.
All of these have chairs now. What happened?
A lot of saddles happened.
Okay, what do you have to
So
say?
many.
Oh, well, I'm just thinking about the like skulk and stuff. Like to me, skulk it has a lot to do with souls, right? It's a soul magic.
Yeah.
Definitely, because it's doing the soul particles. But aren't spawners basically just a cage full of souls? To me, it makes
Yeah,
sense that when you cart a spawner, it starts just leaking souls all over.
That's what I
creating
thought too.
skulk.
Maybe you
Like, that
can't
makes
move it
sense.
too far, because otherwise you deprive it of all the souls.
Yeah. So it breaks if you
Oh.
drive it for too long, or
But how would we save that? If you place it, can you just place it back down and get it back in the car to reset, to like reset it, or
I guess so. But that is a
Maybe.
challenge to it.
maybe yeah.
But
You can
maybe it's a
indicate
bit
it
of a
with
boring
particles.
challenge.
I mean, it also wouldn't be too bad to have spawners that are moved using spawner minecarts to spawn like a marker or an area effect cloud that lasts for like 7 in-the-game days. And if you try to move the spawner again within that time, it won't be it will keep the amount of souls it had, but it slowly regenerates. So after 7 days or so, we can delete the area effect cloud, and then just assume it's a normal spawner again because it had enough time to gather the local soul magic again.
So you'd make it so you can only really move the spawner in increments over time.
Yeah, if you want to go too far, we'd have to obviously adjust like the distance, how far you can go. But if you want to go really far, you'd have to stop and then wait until it's recharged, until the souls are bad. And then you move again and it starts leaking souls again.
Are we treating spawners like beehives in real life? You have to move them like a less than a foot or more than 4 miles, otherwise they don't work.
Yes. I could see that working, honestly.
Yeah, I think the challenge, like it's the same like almost as golden apple tree moving, because when you piston around golden apple trees, it's an annoying thing, but it's worth it. The same way that
That is not
moving-
intended,
no,
but it's not worth fixing.
But I'd apply
Not
the
that
same
hard
like
to fix, but
gameplay logic to this. Like it's doable to move spawners. It's annoying and requires a lot of effort, but it might be worth it if you want a good
Yeah, I
spawner.
think that would be nice. And then we could make the Skulk spreads a bit more special. It could not only spread Skulk, but also spawn a couple of custom like soul mobs.
Yeah.
Soul spirits when you move it.
Yeah.
To me, it makes sense though-wise.
Like it's a little
that
bit
could work.
separate, but like because spawners don't have an explicit link to souls, but it's quite easy to imagine that they
Yeah.
are soul magic. So to make that excuse is quite simple. Ooh, special bringing out the reinforced deep state.
No, I'm just looking at textures and stuff. It's cause
The block you never want to touch because you don't know what Mojang will do with it.
the souls from Skulk are actually darker.
Yeah, they are. They're like interesting.
It's like dead souls.
Like these are the
Oh, yeah,
ones
'cause they're
from
not souls.
Soul Sand and the Nether.
Ah, no, I'd say it's the same thing. It's just they stir up a bit of dust with them.
Yeah. I mean,
That
they're definitely souls.
I guess it makes sense.
But these are souls made of like Skulk, and these are souls made of like Soul Sand.
I would think both are the same souls, but this one's
Yeah.
just carrying a bit of Skulk with it because it got out this block.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's still a debate to be had. We can't just decide instantly this is the best idea. But I think
If it's a good idea, we should write it down. That's
We
like,
shouldn't dismiss the soul link at least.
Yeah.
I think
I did-
Skulk and like
It just
Spawners
doesn't.
both.
Yeah, I gotta figure out how to. Like, I would want it to feel right, you know? Just making it generate Skulk or something feels a little
totally.
obtuse, I guess. I don't know. But
It would have
there's
to be a challenge.
yeah,
at least.
something in the back of my mind is telling me there is a good answer. I just don't know what it is right now. If that makes sense. Yeah. We just replaced the fueling with plants to fueling from Skulk. That's it. That's the
So
only
now-
change.
Now you gotta
Good
fuel
luck.
it with skulk charges instead. So
Yeah.
I gotta kill mobs to spawn mobs. Oh
Yeah.
no. You're doing like the like modded essence liquid. But
There's a couple. Hold on. There's a couple of things in chat here.
There's
Only
apparently
just test
someone
things
on.
with command blocks before you putting in a data pack. Rose? No, we don't usually. Well, kind of. So usually how most data packs get made is you start out with an idea, and then the first like mockups usually either happen in you taking your most simplest module, Gamemode for bad grenades, and modifying that to have some extra commands in it for testing, or you just take a command block to see if a concept works, and then only then is when you realize it into a full into a full data pack. But even that only happens after you have a good name, because otherwise you have to
That's
rename the
not how I
namespaces
feel.
again, and that's a pain. Presley says, well, Game of 4 and command blocks, I haven't seen it in a while. Yeah, we're pretty much rusty on command blocks, honestly.
You'd think it would be the same just because the syntax is the same, but I guess not.
Remember the fill redstone block blocks? Yeah, those were a pain. One command block machines, that were, Rose, that's where we started, like with Game of 4. One clicks. We were... I think the art of a one click was kind of forgotten for a while. We were quite at
Blue.
the front there.
Where are
Yeah.
you? Come watch this. You tell me if the art of one click has been forgotten. I made this like 2 months ago.
Ooh, what's this?
It's a one
And
click.
it goes
It's a
away
one
as well.
click.
I'll hop onto
All
this
it
for a
does
second.
is put particles on markers because you can't see them, and I used that enough that I made a one click for it. But
Is that something I could just have and put in my save toolbars for
that's
no
where it's
reason?
on. That's where it is for me. It's in my save
That's
toolbar,
neat.
along with the finally broken falling sand clock. This thing worked for years, but so they broke something with falling sand, and it doesn't work anymore.
Oh, if you power it from the side, does that not work?
Nah, it doesn't loop. Like
Wait.
time 0 used to mean that it didn't place a block when falling sand landed, but now like it always places a block no matter what, from what I can tell.
Why doesn't it delete the block that's like
Because
my plans?
because previously falling sand just if you didn't tell it to persist after it hit the ground, it just wouldn't place a block. So now you would need a second command to delete it. So
Yeah, okay.
it's like,
Well,
why? I'm pretty sure. Like it used to need time 0 to make a falling sand exist when it hit the ground, but now it just always exists.
how did you get rid of this thing? So
Click the center sign.
Alright,
It's
well,
very cool.
well, where did blue go?
I have to
Blue,
do some public server stuff for a minute.
Yes.
blue popped off for a second. I think so
Alright,
did.
well,
Yeah. Okay, so
you got Kirkus replacement at least.
yeah. Oh, where's my blue head? 1 sec. There's one over here.
Exactly.
Here, put this on.
Where is it? There you go. Can I?
Hi, it's
There you
blue.
go.
Ta-da!
Problem
Ah,
how to do a German accent?
oh god.
You want me to do the German accent?
No, I was supposed to do a German accent because apparently I'm blue now. I
Yeah,
can't
we have
do it.
we have a replacement blue.
Well, where were we? We were
mean-
looking into Skulk
Yeah,
as a alternative.
I
I guess we should look into other ideas.
I did kind
well.
of like the idea of I know we were trying to get away from fueling, but like fueling it with skulk if like one skulk block was like one spawn, because like one monster's worth of experience spawns converts multiple blocks of like multiple blocks of stone or something to skulk. So kind of like a moss generator, you could do like a skulk generator to make like a reactor, but
So
that's
that would kind of mean
complicated and-
that you'd want to have a separate spawner, maybe a naturally spawning to spawner, to fuel your spawner minecarts
well, I think you
or something.
could do it with one. Like you need some initial fuel, but like some initial skulk. But I think it would.
But you'd always have to divert some of your spawns to fuel the spawner, which is interesting, and
Yeah.
I'm not against it. But it is also a little bit complicated. I don't know. How
It is
people will react
complicated.
to it.
That's why I'm like, I don't know how I feel about it, because the whole point of this was to make it usably complicated, not more
Yeah.
complicated. Because right now, what it is, there is a lot of complexity, and it just is not really usable because of that.
I could see this system that you propose working if you have let's say a zombie spawner, and you just let them fall, and then you let that fuel your stack of spawner minecarts. That kind
Yeah.
of makes sense, but it still is like a larger setup than. I mean, it's not that much larger than a Boots of Austria setup like in the past.
Yeah, that's
So I'm not
true.
really sure how people would react to it. But I wouldn't really propose that the Boots of Austria setups were that amazing as a.
Yeah, they didn't feel very grand. You know, they didn't feel like a thing that you were doing. They were just kind of, you had to put them there. They weren't
Yeah.
necessarily a
And then the next issue comes in: how do you fuel the spawner?
yeah.
Just have it absorb from around itself. Then, maybe.
You'd have to like generate blocks and push them in. I think Skulk overwrites what, stone and also
Anything
I
natural.
know dirt.
Natural
what else?
underground blocks.
It'll overwrite anything
like
in
a tag
Skulk
for it?
replaceable.
Is there skulk replaceable? It is.
There is. I don't know what's in it. The wiki does not have that.
How do you find a tag?
You can look in the jar, and I don't really feel like doing that. Oh, maybe they are in the wiki. Maybe? Hello? Maybe not. Moss replaceable, overworld replaceable. There it is. Okay. So, stones from the overworld and the nether, dirt, nylium, sand, terracotta, gravel, soul sand, soul soil, calcite, basalt, clay, dripstone, end stone, red sandstone, and sandstone.
Interesting how they put like effort into adding nether blocks as well to skulk. Skulkable blocks.
It's just nylium and base stone nether, which is... Oh, that's also
Netherrack.
netherrack, never mind. I thought that would have just been blackstone and basalt, but...
That makes sense. It's netherrack. Well, either way, skulk is a doable thing, but how do you charge it with a skulk? If
Yeah.
we expand on the idea, how do you? Because okay, making skulk is possible. Making a skulk source is kind of a fun idea. It's like I'm not against that at all. But how do you add the skulk to the?
That I
spawn?
don't know.
Does it absorb the skulk charges?
I don't think
does
we
it-
can interact with the charges at all, unfortunately.
It's so weird how they added that.
Yeah, it's kind of like Enderman anger, I think.
Hmm.
Like you can't really detect Enderman anger. You can if its attributes change somewhat, I think, when they scream. But like, if an Enderman is angry, is not something that's stored on the entity's like save state. It's just stored in memory. Kind of like the existence of particles, I suppose. So like
it's just
if
a
you
particle effect that does stuff.
yeah, I guess. It's weird though because it does like chain through things, if I recall correctly. Like it does.
Yeah. It is
Um,
as if it's an entity though.
Yeah,
moving
it's.
across the
I'm
boards.
assuming it wouldn't persist through, like reloads of the world. Like if you logged out with a bubbling, I think it's called a bubbling charge.
Don't know.
Um,
You want me to kill some mob nearby? Yeah, I've got a
yeah, I
sword.
think because
That's
you
the
can do like you can like trap a charge in an area. I thought.
I got a insta kill sword if you want me to kill.
Oh, perfect.
What about
Does it
over
spawn
here?
it where the thing dies? It does.
Apparently.
Yeah, so you can see the charge is there. It does. I know it decays over time
Yeah.
as it moves,
So it's
but
just.
I don't think there's
I
an
mean, it's-
entity here. No.
These are some very interesting particle effects that I haven't really paid attention to before.
I do like the particles a lot.
Okay, I was away for like 10 minutes there. I need some catching up here.
We're talking
Uh,
about like we're still talking about Skulk, and the bubbling charge is a weird mechanic.
Oh, I guess I can remove my blue head now.
No, you're just blue permanently. Blue, get a Kirk head.
Well, want to see like the most insane thing special.
Yeah, like you can have
Well,
it cross as a bridge, if I recall.
Yeah, people did stuff
Can you
like that.
can you kill something on here?
I can kill this one.
So now if I go ahead and like do this, it can.
There's some way to do
I think it
this,
has to
but
be
I
a
don't remember
1.
how. Oh, yeah,
Oh,
can
it
go in
can't.
No,
that
It
that's
can't
worse,
spread to the
that's worse.
catalyst. That's
There
right.
you go. Yeah.
And there, it exploded there.
But yeah, because Special's idea was that you could charge the spawner with Skulk charge instead. And so you'd have to set up, divert either some of your mobs from your spawner or have a separate spawner that fuels your spawner.
How does it? How
I
does
won-
your like when does your spawner not be a normal spawner?
That's what I don't know. I mean, one option would be to just. I don't think keeping the current behavior for sure is the right move, but maybe we could have it like you can have it operate as a normal spawner, but like it's always a normal spawner, but you can choose to like overpower it or something if you fuel it.
But that would then be something you could do to all spawners,
Yeah.
wouldn't it?
Like either maybe the entities drop more experience or more. I don't know if we can change experience, but they might drop.
Just-
You know,
Just spawn.
maybe they drop like 4
Exponential
times the loot or
experience
something.
loop.
Just spawn more mobs if it's Skulk powered.
I mean, that would be a totally separate mechanic then, though. That
Yeah.
would tie the spawners more into Skulk then,
Yeah.
I guess.
But that would make it so that, like, spawners themselves. I mean, this doesn't add a challenge. It adds, yeah. So are we still looking for the challenge part of it?
Maybe. Yeah. None
I
of
mean,
these really feel
it's-
like the right, like entirely the right answer so
Yeah,
far.
I really like the Skulk leaking idea or the soul leaking idea when it moves. We just have to like the leaking mechanic that has to be perfected to provide some sort of challenge by not only converting blocks to Skulk but also by spawning. Like I would come up with like a couple of soul mobs, like a soul wisp or something. Weird things that spawn when you do that.
Because there are no mobs in the ancient city. It's
Apart from
just
the
the
warden, yeah.
Skulk stuff and the warden.
And the warden is basically just animated Skulk or something.
Yeah.
I mean, we could make it so that it has a small chance to spawn a Skulk, a Shrieker, but
That spawns wardens.
maidens, you mean?
Oh, totally.
What?
Yeah, but like even that, the maidens aren't really that dangerous.
What now?
They are just
Maiden.
normal mobs. They were so hyped up with the entire sound thing. It's just a normal mob. You can just run away from it.
Yeah, that's the whole point. You're supposed to run away from it, Blue.
Yeah, but doesn't like pose a danger really, because it's
Yeah.
like 3 blocks tall. You just run into a gap.
Just run to a gap.
It's like an Enderman almost. An Enderman looks scary, but it's
I
actually.
mean, it can shoot a thing at you, but once you're under a gap, you can just have all the time to run away. So
Yeah, and when you're under, like, if you're far enough under a gap, it'll still track you, but it won't shoot you. So,
yeah.
either way.
We got new stuff, and the goal of the module is to move spawners. Can you create one also? No, you cannot.
Interesting, because I mean, we used to have the soul probes where you could change the spawner.
I really didn't like that. It was incredibly overpowered.
Oh, totally. But it's something. It's a branch of mechanics that Gamemode 4 has lost. With
Yeah,
the loss of that
the
much.
thing I didn't like about it is that with most things, there's other cool farms you can build to get stuff instead of like changing the type of a spawner. Building a guardian farm is way more interesting than changing the type of a zombie spawner to a guardian spawn. I mean, there are also guardian spawns in Game 4, so that's a bad example, but I think that gives the player a bit too much control in their hands.
I mean, I think it's neat. I mean, with the guardian spawners that we already have, because like that's a way to get a very core Game Mode 4 thing that you kind of need, and there's only so many monuments in the world. You know? That's a little weird.
Yeah, but still, I don't have the
forced
issue
to
of
make a
having
farm to
spawners.
get
I don't
stuff.
like that the player can decide to change them.
I don't think we should add witch spawners through soul probes.
Yeah, no.
Like that was it.
Oh, I have the opposite opinion because people are complaining about redstone and glowstone,
Use
and that's the way you farm
for
things.
Terra for redstone.
Use for Terra and you have tons of it.
For
It's way
redstone,
more
yeah, but
interesting.
glowstone is apparently not renewable.
Yeah, I mean, villagers, but villagers suck. And you do need a lot of glowstone for Orbavanku, which is a pain because it's not renewable.
But I mean, isn't that the point? Like,
Yeah.
that was made that way to be a pain because the mod Obavanku is so powerful.
Yeah.
Coffee says something. Hey, so the goal of this module does move minecarts. I will admit I only just logged in, but this module does not allow you to create if you mean custom ones. Oh, that's Toffee responding. Though they could be reevaluating the goals, move spawners and minecarts, yeah. That's the goal of the module.
Yeah.
I think we should also focus on that and not like overload with too many other spawner mechanics.
Totally.
I mean, it has to be tight and has to be consistent, obviously, but
But I think looking back to the thinking of moving the spawner in increments, I think that is like a good way to look at it. Instead of you could just put it in a
yeah.
minecart and move it however far you want. You
Like I
kinda
said, I really
challenge
like
it,
that idea.
Yeah, you challenge it, but you can't move it far
And,
unless you put more time and effort into it.
and we can also add a bit of not only time and effort, but also add a bit of like, not like being dangerous as in it might kill the player, but having the player, causing the player to have to be aware by adding a couple of mobs that spawn around the Skulk that spawns. I could really much imagine like a Skulk Wisp, even though there are no mobs in the Skulk biome.
Like
but,
a Vex or something with particles.
yeah, just with soul particles or something like.
It's like a
something like that.
disincorporated soul.
Yeah.
So here's a thought that I just had. So moving minecarts is, if the idea is keep it simple in terms of the goal is you can move your minecarts or you can move your spawners from point A to point B, and then making that journey interesting instead of just laying a rail. What if you were like forced to do it in the dark? Like we can detect light currently with predicates, and spawners only work in the dark. So what if you can only move the cart if it's dark?
Does it
Like
work at
whether it be
nighttime, or does it
but
have to
like
be
only at
underground?
night or only like in the dark, so you can't like light up the path?
Does the spawner minecart stop in its tracks if it's lit
I
up,
think-
or does it kind of break something?
I think that maybe like either slows down or just stops. I don't think it should destroy itself. Maybe.
No, I think you should just stand still
Yeah.
and can't move.
Yeah, like a spawner in the light just is inert.
Yeah, we'd have
Like
to
the
indicate
spawner
it somehow.
minecart in the light could just be inert.
The one problem I see with that is that,
Minecarts suck.
well, no, the issue is you say
Wait,
it has to be in the dark, so players build like a 1-block tunnel around it. One block wide, 2-block high tunnel. And because all the blocks in here are occupied, then whatever you do to make the journey interesting with like it spawning Skulk or anything, doesn't affect the player inside pushing the cart, but it would be dark inside. But I guess that players could also do that even if this cart could be moved in it.
I think
that.
people would build tunnels underground and stuff to move those
Yeah.
spawners.
I mean, you're gonna
So-
be moving spawners through tunnels anyway, so
I mean, you can, to make that more interesting, well, it would make it more annoying, but to make it more interesting in a way too, you could just allow these skulk veins to break rails when they spawn from the spawner.
So you'd have to like be around to kind of deal
You
with
have to at least have to do something. You have to keep an eye out.
Does it delete the rails or does it pop the rails off?
I think rails are cheap enough that we can convert them.
Though if the disembodied soul thing, if that's a Vex, then the entire problem doesn't exist because Vexes can go through blocks and it would be stupid to build it.
Oh yeah, totally.
Okay, no, we don't need that. We don't need rails popping off. We just make it a Vex.
Yeah, because
then you don't do that because then you can't hit it.
Yeah, like you're incentivized to be in a bigger area to be better combat, have better combat potential. And then you have to also deal with whatever mob is spawning from the minecart. And we could even amp that up a little bit,
just make it
skull-infested versions of the mob or something.
How would we telegraph that it's only movable in the dark? I could imagine, like, you've ever played Breath of the Wild?
Yeah, I am. One of my favorite games.
Stasis?
Which thing?
Or the static rune, the freeze and time thing?
Oh, stasis. Yes, that's what you said.
Yeah, it would be so nice to... would be so nice to have those particles to freeze the spawner during the game, but we can't. I don't think that's possible.
What kind, like, the only particle effect that can remind me of just like not movable is a barrier particle effect. I don't think we want to use.
That's too technical. That seems like a user interface.
Exactly. It doesn't really scream mechanic. It screams exactly what you're saying. We do have access to the new particle effects where you can make a particle effect out of any block.
Bam.
Yeah.
That particle is not super powerful. All it does is render a block.
Let me just read out a couple of things from chat here. So Beep said that he likes the idea of it moving in increments, and the Skull Guide here. Mizard says he agrees. The previous revamp was too complicated. Keeping it simple, it's definitely a good idea. Adding a bit of challenge while allowing simple spawner farms to still exist. And Tank says maybe to pick up the spawner, you could place candles lit on around it. The idea is that player do some sort of ritual around the spawner. I would keep it mechanical with the piston if you can realize that piston thing, but we could keep that in mind.
Can I just pop into the piston thing?
Yeah.
I was a little bit confused, but what I understood from what BPR said is that if you have a minecart on a rail, it checks for spawners above it, and if there's a spawner, it turns it into a falling block, always. If there's a minecart under a spawner, it always is a falling block. If the minecart or the spawner goes away, it turns back into a block again. But then, if you have the minecart ready, it will always be a falling block, and you can always push through.
We kind of discontinued that idea because there might be a better way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So the better way to do it would, if there's a minecart below, then you... Hopefully this works. This depends on order of like when functions run and when command blocks run. When there's a minecart below, then you always check this piston above for its extended state, and you basically... So it's based on this. If I have a redstone block on top here, that break the spawner, even with a command block, the piston will extend.
Yeah.
So now the idea is, you constantly, if there's a minecart below, you constantly observe this piston and check the extended state. And if the extended state stays false, that means... hold on, yeah. So you break the spawner with a command block.
Mm-hmm.
Every time where there's a minecart below, you break the spawner and replace it immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And thereby, in the meantime, you look at this piston with another command block or a function and see if it's extended. So you can thereby deduce if the piston is powered. Because if you do that, if you like break the spawner for a bit, whilst there's some power source near the piston will change to extended. And then you can know the piston was powered.
And hopefully all this would happen within one tick.
Yeah, so you wouldn't see it flicker, hopefully.
Yeah.
I actually think
even be able to walk
I think that the falling sand or falling block option actually might make a lot of sense, Blue, now that I understand what's going on with it. Which is just, there isn't a block here. It's just, there's a falling sand that looks like there's a block here.
Yeah.
In this case. So then it's just waiting for the power to the piston.
The problem with that is that the falling sand completely disables the spawner.
Yeah, so you'd have to either replicate the spawner or only do it in very small circumstances, like when there's a piston above and... Well, there'd already have to be a cart below for detection, but...
I would combine
cart and piston? The problem is cart and piston like this to disable the spawner isn't a bad way to disable. Like, I would be okay with this not spawning anything, because if you're going to be harvesting a minecart, it's probably already going to be lit up and disabled anyway.
Yeah, but why not make it better by just using both solutions? And if we can't get it to break and place this in one tick, then you break it, summon a falling block for one tick, and then place the spawner back. That way the spawner is still there.
Well, I don't, because I think no matter what we do, breaking the block is going to be sent to the player. Like, it's going to show up.
No, if you do it from the same tick, it wouldn't show up.
But
No,
I
you
mean, it would
still get
show
the
up
sound
with a
effect.
mob in the
You still
middle.
get the sound event and
There's no sound effect if you do it with a command.
oh, if you're not doing break. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and you don't need to do break. If we can use a falling block to mask off the flickering if we need to.
It would flicker the mob inside.
It would flicker and
stuff.
also does add force load to this module, which is another thing to think about.
Force load isn't a big thing.
It's kind of a thing. I guess it's not so bad now that I think about it. It's just, it is weird. It's a weird level of complexity for something that's supposed to be simpler, you know?
Force load is a pretty basic thing these days, even if you just have custom drafters, you have it. Mizard is saying, what about replacing the piston with a command block or a structure block? That would activate instantly. That would also work instead of replacing the spawner. That might even be better, because if we mess with the spawner at all, we reset its spawn delay, which disables it internally. So maybe you
Would it be visible to the player though if you?
that would at least 4 tick pulse.
Yeah, because you'd have to. It would have to be around for a tick to fire. I spent a bunch of time with structure blocks
Reminds me
and
of-
stuff
But
within the same
that
tick.
would probably,
relocators.
but that would probably be, it would be similar to sensors. It would probably be the safer bet though, instead of messing with the spawner.
Speaking of census, we might be able to update it with this technique if it does work, Blue. With the
you look
functions
into it,
and command blocks to
Yeah.
make the command block not show.
Yeah, that would be
Oh.
nice. Tank 49, I tested the idea of removing the spawner to test if the piston does extend, but it didn't work. You mean this? Wait, special come over here.
With a command.
Yeah.
To move
Did
spawn.
you just do it with a command or like this? Because like this it extended.
Yeah, because that breaking that block updates the piston,
And that also
which
works if
causes
you.
it to extend.
That also works if you do a replace command.
Yeah, because that does trigger a block update.
Yeah, even though it doesn't look like it. Okay, back to like Skulk though. We were talking before we got carried away by this. So we've been talking about moving the minecart, and we concluded on if you use a Vex, then they would be encouraged to have it in an open area, which would be nice. And I think the moving in the dark thing is still kind of cool, because then they have to deal with the mobs too.
Yeah.
What would happen if they don't move it in dark? It would just be frozen? Would it like damage the spawner somehow? Would it like deprive the souls really quickly? Or
We would want to figure out how that soul deprivation mechanic works. Like, how do we?
I would probably indicate if particles around the spawner somehow, and the more they are,
The closer it is to not working.
the
What
other way
happens
around.
when it stops working?
Good point. What happens when it stops?
What
when
do you
it's
mean
out
by
of
the
souls?
soul deprivation thing?
Like, if it's in a minecart form, it stops working after enough time, so you gotta move it in small increments.
Or a distance.
Oh, like a
But
distance thing. Okay.
Time or distance. I think
Like-
time would be fun.
So like both have it. You can only move it in the dark, and also you can only move it 4
Correct.
chunks at a time before you have to.
Yeah.
Well, or a certain time, and then you have to get it out of the card again, and once it's out of the card, it will place a spawner with an area effect cloud or something inside. And then you have to leave it there for a couple of days until it... Basically, the cloud will store how much charge it had when you popped it out of the card. And it will slowly recharge, and you can put it back in.
Does the spawner just pop out of the cart? If it
I don't know what happens once it runs out of charge.
maybe it just pops out and it's like, fuck you, I'm going out of here.
I don't think we can do that, because you don't know what's above, right? So
Yeah. Okay.
that might cause issues. It could just be that at that point it freezes in place. You could go for the nuclear option, I'm just saying. once it does that, the spawner loses the mob attack inside, and then it doesn't work anymore. You
Yeah.
screwed up. But that would be pretty rough on players. They would probably hate it, even though I love it.
Yeah, it feels not really right to just delete the
It
spawners.
would be like a big punishment for something that players would consider very minor.
I mean, a punishment could be just like, yeah, I understand that it can't just pop out because it might be a block above. But if it were to pop out, and you've had it for too long, or somehow, then it would just take a really long time to recharge because you didn't like let it recharge in time.
Yeah, but we'd still need to stop them from moving it after. Maybe it should just freeze in place at that point.
Like as a card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's
But
out of
then-
stalls.
An issue I always thought about that is you can still move in with pistons and or flying machines. And how do you stop that with an immovable minecart?
Oh, that's a good point. So that wouldn't stop it. So maybe it should pop out because then it's actually movable.
Yeah.
Well, we could make. Can we make the cart immovable other ways? We could make it ride a marker. We could make it. You'd have to resummon it though.
No, there might be a passenger command coming.
No, that's true. That's true.
At that point, you could
But-
make it ride a marker, and then it would actually be.
We can currently, I
Can you-
believe, just summon a new one riding a marker if need be. Copy the data, kill the original.
Yeah, Wizard is saying some stuff. Let me just copy this over. Can you set has visible fire on spawner minecarts?
No, I just tested that.
Isn't that exclusive to living base?
Yeah,
Says.
I think it's
Copy.
exclusive to.
Making the players wait for a few days doesn't sound very fun in my opinion. I think it would be better to have one adventure to move spawner.
I mean, having it not be movable too far incentivizes you to, take spawners from closer by, and also, decentivizes making insanely overpowered farms because you actually have to put a lot of effort into it. Right?
I think the radius in which you can move it, well, the time you have to move it, that shouldn't be set too restrictively, so that usually you can get spawners in one move. But if you want to go really far away, I think then you should have to wait a couple of days. I don't know what you think about that, Mizard. Like, we're not talking about a really restrictive moving distance, like 16 blocks. We're talking about something way bigger.
So you have
'cause
to
I-
take a couple journeys on your.
Yeah, I kind of like what Kirk said there. So at least, at least you try to get the spawners nearby first. And if you really want some really good spawner that's super far away, that spawner really must be worth it.
Is there some way to affect the minecart's speed? Just
Not really.
as it's like, because I know with like chest minecarts and hopper minecarts and stuff, they have like some sort of speed setting depending on how much stuff they have in them. I don't know how.
That's not
what
stored
define-
in MBT. That's stored in memory only.
Minecarts are really been forgotten by Mojang, and it's kind of sad because
Yeah.
they could be so cool. But you can't really modify it like, how like when you're using tunnel bores and you go around a corner and your chest minecart shoots off into the sun.
Yeah.
That's why. Because the
Actually,
motion's
sadly,
weird.
cannot help you with the URL in chat. Chat is completely managed by YouTube.
Yeah, I don't think.
Yeah,
I
sadly,
don't think it's a
Minecraft
setting I
helps
can toggle.
No, it's not. It's just YouTube chat is
So-
a bit weird.
We can't stop it completely, but we can't slow it.
We can stop it completely, but we cannot slow it. Yeah. But
Yeah. Okay.
there might be a better way as a punishment. Maybe. I was gonna say if it runs out of souls, a ton of those disembodied souls spawn, but it doesn't make sense because it ran out of souls.
Yeah, but even then, if it did run out of souls, what happens to the spawner? Does it just? Because like yes,
well,
we
it
can
would
punish
just
them
be
with
stopped. Huh?
vexes and things.
I wouldn't punish them with vexes. I'd just have it be stopped. Well, personally, I would make it so that the spawner loses whichever type it had and is now useless. But that's way too harsh, and people don't like playing games like that.
Yeah,
I love it, but people don't like it. So I would
I
just
mean-
stop the minecart.
I think it's fair to apply a punishment, but I don't think it should be a permanent punishment like that.
What
but
if it
a pun-
weren't permanent? What if it were? what if you do that? You'd have to wait, but you have to wait a really long time.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
But what if we made it useful then? And like there's a register of different spawner types that naturally occur, and then depending on where it ran out of souls, it then accumulates some after a long wait. It accumulates some random spawner type of the area. So if you do it in like an ocean biome, it gets a guardian spawner if Orbis is installed.
No, I am not a fan of that. Are we able to, with this new Spawner Minecart system though, be able to minecartify any spawner? Because currently you
It's
can
a
only
whitelist.
minecartify.
It will stay
Yeah.
whitelist.
Why will it stay whitelist?
Because you have to
'Cause-
have the data properly. I don't think there's a way to make it dynamic. fully.
Also, you might have data packs, or you might have a map which has a special spawner somewhere that you definitely shouldn't move.
Because the problem currently, at least in public servers, half of the naturally spawning spawners can't be minecarted because of
that's a-
Orbis and stuff.
That's a bug that's
because
in-
Orbis didn't register them properly.
Yeah, there's a bug report for it.
Okay.
Yeah, the Orbis
it's been
spawners
a
are supposed
problem-
to be cardable.
But that's been a problem like always with Guardian spawners, for example. They've never been cardable.
The old Orbis
Because-
ones should have been cardable, I think.
They were never before.
They should have been. They probably just weren't registered properly.
Ah, okay, well, fair.
There's a whitelist in place because if you are a data pack maker or a map maker or something, or a survival map maker, you assume that you cannot move spawners. And this pack enables spawner movement, so by default, spawners shouldn't be movable unless someone explicitly tells the data pack to.
Yes.
Mizard is saying, what use case do you want to discourage by making them stop when moving for a long distance? I just think it would be nice if people try to get close spawners first, because that's less work, and the further you go, the harder it gets to move a spawner. Also, it makes it harder that you get a huge mass of spawners.
I'd apply it kind of similar to like how people approach apple trees, even though you're not supposed to be able to move apples. If you find a place with a golden apple tree or two, you build a farm there ideally, but you can move the apples all the way to your base. But that's a lot of effort, but it might also be rewarding.
I think
But
we just want to up the effort a bit, depending on
Yeah.
the
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily the effort, but more of just making it feel more of a challenge with the. I'm running out of words. I apologize. A challenge that's got like a respective reward at the end of it. So, like if you could just mine a spawner and place it down in your farm, it'd make it super easy. It wouldn't really feel very rewarding to have your super farm done.
Or even if you just can build a straight rail track and just use that straight away, because that's the same essentially.
Yeah.
I think. Let's see what Mizot thinks there.
So hopefully it's not trying to discourage a behavior. I think it's more trying to encourage it feeling like a quest or a project you're working on.
I don't think the having to get spawn out should get in the way of you getting a spawner within a reasonable distance of your base. It should only get in your way if you want to get a spawner from like
Yeah,
1,000 blocks
far
away.
away. Yeah.
500. I don't know. Scales are difficult, but
You know, if you have a spawner under your base that you want to move up, that shouldn't be the problem. The problem should be if you want to go half across the world and bring a spawner all the way home.
Yeah, if you want to
That's-
harvest a spawner.
Yeah. Like if you're collecting a massive spawner empire, then that should be difficult. But moving a spawner around your base shouldn't be difficult. Like that is the distinction.
Mizot says the challenge should be making the track and moving it in the dark, not having to wait a day. I mean,
I mean, you could just like you don't have to do the challenge, but maybe that's not a good argument. Like it's a very optional.
what do you mean by you don't have to do challenge?
Like the moving a spawner is very optional. You don't have to move a spawner unless you really want to. So it's your own choice to invest the effort into like spending time on it. But I
Yeah,
guess
but-
spending time. The argument is that spending time is a boring challenge.
Yeah, that's true.
Um,
Like if it's just wait a day and you're not doing anything else, that's not
fair.
good. But if it's wait a day because you're laying the next
Clumsy.
track or something, maybe.
It's a good concern to have fixed.
How is this? I'm just spitballing another option. So the idea right now was that, where the spawner appeared first in the world is like its soul well or something, and when you move the minecart, you can only go so far before it can't get access to that, and then you have to let it like reestablish itself in the world. Yeah. What if the like soul well moved towards the spawner slowly? So the further you moved it, the like you'd have to wait a while before the soul well like got there.
The spawner minecart is actually empty vessel.
Yeah. You can move the spawner as far as you want with no problems. But the further that's another waiting game though.
I think it would be incredibly hard to implement too.
Yeah, plus you'd have to deal with chunk garbage and stuff,
Yeah, you'd have to like do some pathfinding from the original spawn to where the fuck it currently is.
Well, I would imagine this, like, if the soul well is a separate layer of reality that it occupies the same block as the spawner, then it can just make a beeline straight through blocks.
Yeah, like it would just teleport towards the spawner slowly. But I see how
it destroys blocks in the way and replaces them with Skulk, regardless of what it is.
Yeah, I think that.
Have it go
maybe
through,
not
have it go through the GFD vault.
Yes.
Mizard says, make the card move super slow in the dark and stop when light, or make the card never stop. If it unrails, it dies, kind of inspired by the Unrailed game. I've seen that, but the problem I have with like killing this, personally, I don't have an issue with killing the spawner card.
But you see,
but if we do that,
people will get mad. They will riot.
Incredibly mad. They'll hate it.
Because if they mess up once, their spawner's gone.
I don't think we should kill the spawner, but I think the light levels are a really fun thing to deal with. You gotta move it in the dark. That's something we
I like the light level things. I also like the thing Special proposed, where the spawner is actually an empty jar, basically.
Yeah.
And the soul of the spawner moves behind it. And I think if it destroyed blocks, that would be a super cool challenge, but that would be scary as well.
I like it though.
Like it moves directly towards the thing and you have to be slow enough. Like you can go super slow and then the thing will always be able to catch up with the card and it will basically move along the card. But if you go too fast, it will just beeline for it and dig through whatever it finds.
I would say that the soul itself in the spawner moves at the same speed always, but if it goes without the spawner for too long, then maybe it dies because you.
Oh no, we're talking about two different things then. Carlos.
Ah, okay.
So I guess one point before we keep on this track, are we kind of going in the opposite direction of the last version, where we're not encouraging people to keep the spawners in a cart? Like that is a thing that we want to deal with, of moving spawners around as a part of your farm is just not a supported feature anymore.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Okay.
No,
I think we should leave that up to players. They can use it in a cart if they want to stack them or can take them out. I think what we should do is make the transport an act that's actually interesting. That's okay. Minecarts are for transportation, not for
spawning them. Okay.
Yeah.
Because these mechanics would be at odds with keeping them in a cart, I think.
Yeah, they
potentially.
We'd allow them to get it back out again.
No, but like if you chose to keep them in a cart, so you could put like 10 spawners in a block, then you'd have a soul well nearby that would be attempting to break your
hold on. Yeah,
farm.
If we do that thing that you just proposed, then because the minecart is just an empty jar, I guess, it wouldn't work to spawn anything. So that would be a totally different challenge, I guess. Okay, so we have three ways now. We have the initial thing with like leaking Skulk, and after a time you have to stop it and let it recharge. Then we have you can only move it during the night. During the day it's stopped or something happens to it. I don't know. And then we have the idea the card of the spawner is actually just a physical object. It's just a cage. The spawner cage, but the soul of the spawner stays behind and just beelines towards the cart at all times. And the spawner actually only starts something when the soul of the spawner returns to the spawner. The last one being more like a logistical challenge, right? You don't have to face any mobs because the spawner can't spawn anything, but you have to like move the cart in a way that the soul doesn't go straight through someone's thing, through your base, and turns everything to skulk.
I do kind of like that thematically a little bit.
I like it thematically too.
Like the spawner is, I mean, it makes sense for why it's a cage. It's the reason it's a cage is because it's trying to contain the soul well, and it's slowing down the rate at which it spews monsters into the world. And if you remove the cage, suddenly it's just spewing the souls back into the world at a high rate of speed.
But the soul moves towards the cage. It kind of wants to go home to the cage or something.
Yeah, it's like
correct.
whoever built the cage it's there to contain this point in space, and it's also to keep it from moving around.
But when the cage moves, the soul moves towards it.
Yeah,
doesn't it?
it's like a track set or something. It's built out of magnets.
Let's look at it like this. So let's say we have the spawner here, right? The spawn. What the fuck? Why are there so many minecarts? So the spawner lives here, right? And Special puts it in a minecart. Special is a player who wants to move it. Puts it in a minecart and gets the spawner minecart. And once he does that, this thing explodes into skulk all over the place. Replaces like stone and all blocks into skulk. And now Special starts to move it. And now the soul will start to shoot towards the minecart and on its way turn all the blocks it crosses through to skulk. And maybe it can reunite with minecart, I don't know, but what will definitely happen is once Special moves it somewhere where he then ejects it, like let's say Special ejects it here, and this soul will then start, this spawner will be marked because it will be ejected, so we can mark it with an entity, and then soul will start shooting towards it and will turn all blocks into skulk until it reaches the spawner, and only when it reaches the spawner, only then can the spawner spawn things again.
Oh, I like that. So it only goes towards the spawner when the spawner is ejected.
No, it also goes towards the minecart. So you could go really slow.
Yeah, because
if you go really slow, then it will basically always stay at the minecart and you won't do much damage to the world. But if you go fast, you will like turn stuff to skulk and stuff.
Exactly. Like I really like that because I was thinking that the spawner, I mean the whole game would be that you gotta move the minecart in increments and have the soul follow it like very slowly until you can move it again.
Yeah, that would be the safe way.
If the soul is left alone in the air too long, it just dies or something.
Yeah,
I like this better. It's like
what if
really
because if the thing is to do it in the dark, I do like the dark idea. Because if the spawner minecart doesn't spawn in the dark, maybe it's not the spawner, like the cage, that has to do with the dark, but it's the soul well.
The soul, yeah.
And if that is exposed to light without the protection of the cage, maybe it
could also go
dies or returns to where it was. Maybe it flees the light or something. So if the sun rises, it like goes to where it started.
I'd say it just goes a lot slower or something instead, though.
Hey, I don't want to destroy it, but I mean, I'm on blue side. I
want
to destroy it, but I don't want to destroy it.
Yeah, burns away the speed, says Alex. Like, if the soul thing is exposed to light, it won't shoot as fast, and it will kind of really take a long time to get where you want it.
But like, you can't really influence that.
No, because it's just a random line.
Because the soul is just a line. You can't really. Let's say you're an overworld, right?
You could treat solid blocks as in the dark.
Yeah, obviously, but like.
Yeah, maybe darkness.
I don't think darkness is a fun puzzle for this shooting a line thing.
I guess
because here you already have the puzzle of having to move the minecart in a way that you don't shoot through your base. Or go really slowly.
I love the explosion thing, which explained in the beginning as well, Blue. When you minecart it just explodes into skull.
Yeah, because you only move the cage into the minecart. The minecart doesn't have the spawner.
It has its full potential to release souls into the world.
That's a great idea, though.
And I would then make it so that this spawner minecart can actually never spawn mobs.
No.
Yeah.
Even if the soul reaches the minecart, the soul will just hover around the cart and keep turning stuff around it to scout. It can only rejoin the spawner if you reject it into the world. And
so there's no minecart spawner stacking anymore, which is fine by me.
No spawner stacking anymore, but you can eject them again.
Yeah. I really like this.
I I think there's also some potential for doing the slow but steady creep towards the spawner minecart, even in like unloaded chunks and stuff, which could be neat. Like
The problem with unloaded chunks is you can't modify the blocks. Huh?
Exactly. But like you're going in, yeah, that's true. You wouldn't be able to make the skulk blocks, but you can summon entities into unloaded chunks. They'll just
Do you summon entities that will spawn skulk when it's loaded?
potentially.
That sounds dangerous because
you might get a bunch of entities, but
you can't track those entities.
Well, no, but that's how you would. So it's just the next time they load, they would get skulk.
No, I mean server crashing dangerous.
Yeah.
You have no clue how many entities have spawned.
You'd have to have a tracker in there. How many entities you summoned into a chunk or something. Or make them appear at a really low rate.
Like, wait, I'm a little bit confused. This whole thing moves at a constant speed, and every, let's say, 10 blocks, it summons a skulk.
What special is saying, he was talking about making it so that it also can move through unloaded chunks.
Yeah, because it would be really weird if you just moved really fast and then who knows where your soul well went, you know? Like if it went into if it unloads, what are you gonna do? And I would because you can if you know it's going in a straight line, you can simulate its motion purely with math and how long it's been, and this is this is where it should be.
Back when Beeps and me made Apple trees, we also were thinking about implementing like the unloaded chunk mechanic stuff. In the end, we decided against it because there's just nothing in Minecraft that behaves that way, and you can kind of expect the player to know that things that are unloaded don't do anything.
Well, I think that's...
So these days I'm kind of on the side of unloaded chunk tech is cool, but that's it, it's cool.
Well, I think
I don't see a problem with it.
I still think that having to think about unloaded chunks at all has always been an annoying, obtuse part of the game that you shouldn't have to deal with.
Yeah, but there are so many things in the game that...
I mean, it's really just crops.
Unloaded chunks.
So...
Well, it's everything.
I mean, I'm not really understanding. Like, to me, it makes sense that if you have the skulk thing moving through the chunks, if they're unloaded or not, it has moved through the chunks and it affects them the same way.
Yeah, but you cannot affect them if they're not loaded. That would be the issue. You cannot place blocks. You could summon entities, but...
Yeah, if you summon an entity every 10 blocks on a path, and then when those chunks next get loaded, which is, at the edge of the player's chunk loading reach, so they can't really see these things happen.
The problem is you don't know how many entities to summon unless you track them manually using a tracker, and that would mean you'd have to have a tracker per chunk or something.
But couldn't you just calculate to spawn one every so many blocks or something? How would you end up?
You can calculate the line to where it wants to go, yes, but like you cannot. What I'm saying is you cannot modify the chunks directly, right? You can't just place blocks because they're unloaded.
No. But you spawn one of these entities, and then when that entity gets
and that will eventually crash the server.
But why would it crash the server if it only spawns so many entities?
Because I don't think the tracker thing will be reliable. I'm curious to what Mizzle says. But you can't go like, hey, how many entities are there in this chunk? If the chunk is unloaded, the game can't tell you. So you'd have to manually keep track, and I don't think that would be reliable. But I'm curious what Mizzle says. Maybe Mizzle says it's totally reliable, and then I'm convinced.
You can, if you're using markers, you can get a lot of entities in a chunk before it matters. So.
But I'm not really saying that you would have one entity per block that changes.
Yeah,
I'd say
for
you
sure
have
not.
one entity every like 10 blocks.
Yeah.
And then that one entity does an explosion in quotation marks of skulk around it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like it wouldn't be 16 entities every time you cross the chunk. It'd be like 2.
Mizzle says that might be dangerous with unloaded chunks because you might unknowingly grieve other spaces.
I mean, that's kind of the whole problem with this whole thing as well.
Well,
like you're supposed to have to be a steward of it.
It's less of a problem if the chunk is loaded, though. Because if a chunk can also be unloaded, you can get one of these spawners somewhere out in the world, then transport your cart via the nether. Oh, that's gonna be an issue.
Yeah, I don't think we should be able to move into different dimensions. That's something I thought about.
Yeah, we need to stop that anyways, I think. Yeah.
I think they already do stop dimensions? I don't know.
We can just stop that by having a passenger. But
yeah.
I think what Mizzle wants to say is you could go like some weird way home, but the soul will shoot straight ahead, and if it's unload, then you don't even go there. You have no clue what's there.
Well, that's gonna have the same problem anyway. Like if your rail goes,
Mizzle says
if
this sounds
okay,
like
if
an
these are
nightmare to
chunks
implement.
and there's a someone's house is here in unloaded chunks, and you get your spawner from here, and you drive it along here and plop it here, like the soul is gonna go straight this way. It's gonna cut the corner, and if it's loaded, it's gonna grief the base, and if it's not, is who knows? Like
Mizzle says this sounds like a nightmare to implement roommates memories. I assume he's talking about like spawning entities in unloaded chunks and killing the server, and strays away from the keep it simple principle. And I would agree. I think the unloaded chunk.
well, I think the
is a bit
mechanics
overthought and
should be
unnecessary.
simple, not necessarily the implementation. This is
I just think
Minecraft.
the
In order to
unloaded
make
chunk
a
is
simple
too
mechanic,
dangerous.
you have to make it
I'm not
complicated.
really understanding why the unloaded chunk thing here is so difficult. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't understand like the technicalities at all. But from what I understand, it's just that you'd be able to calculate a line from point A to point B, and you'd be able to do maths on this like direction. But wouldn't you be able to space out entities without like over cramming them? Space out entities on this line that just don't cause issues?
Maybe. That's the whole question. So, I guess another to actually try to maybe get somewhere. Do you want to have to escort this like the soul well as well of the cart? Like if you take the spawner and you move it on powered rails halfway across the world, what do you want to happen? Like what should happen ideally then? Should you just have to wait until the soul gets to you and it only modifies loaded chunks? Or do you want the player to have to like escort that as well by like slowly walking it long and making sure it's not hitting anything? And
Yeah, I would prefer the second one and enforcing that by just loading chunks.
You take section by section. That's like 5 chunks long. You can't go further than that or something.
yeah,
Mizzle says, ignoring technicalities, this doesn't sound much like a challenge. Players will just make the cut go fast and wait for the soul.
yeah. Which I guess, like, is that, do we want that to be an option, or do we want players to 100% have to stop and wait for it to catch up?
I think that could be an option if you don't care about destroying stuff.
But at which point, what stuff would it destroy?
Anything it moves through.
Even in unloaded chunks, or like would it only destroy things in
It
the
only
one loaded
move-
chunk
I
at
would-
the end?
Well,
Because then
let's
it's like,
ignore the unloaded chunk stuff, because I would only make it move in loaded chunks anyways. You'd have to go there to load it to make it move. But it will just, anything it hits, it will just turn to scout. Okay, maybe avoid like tile entities, obviously.
I think if possible, we could just use, we might be able to hook into the skulk generation. Maybe place a skulk catalyst, kill a mob. I don't know if we can hook into that at all, but
I think
we need a block though.
That's besides the point.
Ugh.
So either we have the skulk, like either we have the soul thing, move infinite distances depending on where it needs to go over chunks that are loaded, like Blue said, or it can only move so far, and you have to stop every once in a while to like let it move over. So
I mean,
you can
and that would be the side effect of having it only move in loaded chunks.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, then you'd have to eject the spawner minecart, and then let the thing move, and then put the spawner back in the minecart, move it another section, and like let it move piece by piece instead of doing one big line.
I just really don't like forcing people to have to think about what chunks are loaded. That feels wrong.
I think the spawner minecart should if we need to take care of chunks, I'd say we can move the spawner minecart so far until we have to let the soul thing. I still don't have a good name for it. What do we call it?
Soul well is what I've been calling it, which kind of makes sense to me.
So you can move the spawner minecart so far, and then you gotta let the soul well catch up with it. then you can do it again and again and again until you're all the way home.
What
And
happens
the
if it
soul
gets
well,
too far?
Yeah, that's the problem. How do we make it not go too far?
If it's out of range, does it just stop?
And then you gotta take the spawner back to it to like let it recharge.
I think from an implementation standpoint, it would be good to have both the spawner and the soul well both in loaded chunks, because then you can do the straight line path more easily. Because otherwise, I think you would need a in storage database of pairs. Because if like the end point is not loaded and the soul well is, it doesn't necessarily know where to go, and vice versa. Although I guess you always know, you could always go for the last known position of the cart or of the block, the cage, and just always go towards that. And at some point they'll both be loaded in sync. But you'd have to have an ID system, but that's not terrible.
Does like, okay, if I go backtrack a bit, does the soul well have to be linked to a specific spawner block, or could we have the soul well just goes into the nearest empty spawner?
No, I think it should be linked to.
Yeah, I think both from a like gameplay in terms of like if it goes towards the nearest, like would it be occupied? Would it be unoccupied? You don't want to merge two spawners.
No, but you can like when you've moved the spawner in a cart, it turns into one of these empty spawners with nothing in it because the soul well is still lagging behind, right?
Yeah.
I guess what you could do to make it so the players can't, like Wizard says, start for the goal extracted there, is you could make it so that the soul thing, it only has a certain range. Let's say
it can only see
64
chunks.
64 blocks.
Yeah.
And it can only see that far. It can only see that far, so it will dart towards a cage within that distance. And I guess if you do that though, then I would go with Kirkus' idea of it will just drag towards the nearest cage.
Yeah.
Because at that point, I don't think it has that ethereal connection anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the cage has some inherent magnetic property that has
it's like
range.
Okay.
And that would solve all the unloaded chunk issues. Usually, unless you play on a ridiculously low render.
I think 4 chunks is the lowest you can go in simulation distance anyway.
Something like that.
And then would drag towards the nearest cage, and then players won't dart for the end.
So it will go back into the spawner and like skulkify everything in its way. Then you move it again, and it goes back.
Well,
to
it wouldn't go back into the spawner. It would. You'd probably keep the thing in minecart form. You'd keep the minecart with the empty spawner cage, and it would go towards it, and you'd have to. We'd have to put some particle indicators in to tell that the thing lost its target.
I think there's a good. What's the bubbling charge particle look like?
Like if it's moving.
You could also tell from the moving. Yeah.
Yeah. If it's moving, it's moving. If
and
it's not
once
moving,
it gets close enough, you move like the cage card again, and then it moves towards it, and that would work. And by adjusting the speed of how fast the soul well moves, you could also make that interesting, not too boring.
Oh, so it starts off fast and gets slower and slower until it stops in its way, and you gotta put the spawner minecart back to where the soul thing is. If it stops.
I'm not sure about the speed change. I don't know what that would add.
But like that would make it so that it has a range. Like the soul thing has a range of 64 blocks. The first 32 blocks go really fast, but the last 32 blocks go slower and slower and slower until it stops at 64 blocks. And then
you could do that, or you could just have a cutoff at one point where it just can't see it anymore.
Yeah, but that's another question.
It's the same thing.
Does it always move towards the spawner minecart, or does it move towards the spawner minecart when it
the nearest empty cage?
Always.
Whether that is in block form or in minecart form.
But that is just constantly, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Until it gets to a block form cage with which it can recombine.
Mm-hmm. But then it still has a range, do you say, or no?
Yeah. The range
how
has
would
to
you-
be there, otherwise we have unlocked chunks.
So the range is mostly just if it's moving or if it's not moving, you say? It's not a range from its original location, it's just...
from its
a
current
range
look.
from
It's
its
like a mob tracking range. Like a zombie can only track you for 24 blocks.
Ah, okay. So it's... My take would be that the
Imagine
range goes from the start, but your idea is the range is
yeah,
from
no.
where it is.
Imagine the soul well as a zombie, and
Yeah.
the
That
minecart
makes sense.
or the block form as a villager, but the villager can only be transformed to a zombie villager if it's in block form.
Yeah.
That's a weird sentence.
That
And
makes
we'll
sense.
always keep tracking that, and if it loses it, we'll just slow down or stop. Oh, well, it will stop, and maybe there will be some particles, and then you have to get another cage in range or push the cage back into range.
Yeah.
And that way players have to be near it all the time, you know?
Yeah.
You can still move it wherever you want, but you have to be near it so you don't have the unload chunk issues. You'll probably know where it goes through.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Either Mizzle is typing up a very long, furious message, or we have starved Mizzle of ideas. Criticism.
Interesting. Well, okay, I can get behind these ideas. Oh. How would you make a moving target that uses these particle effects? Does this go towards the... Oh, it goes to where you're facing.
Yeah. Particle tech's cool. I've been learning it slowly.
So that would face backwards, maybe. Like that would face backwards. Like you'd
This would be
basically
like
walk
from the
backwards.
well to the
Mizzle is not typing anything.
thing, maybe.
No, but I'd say if imagine. Can you put that on me?
That could go from the well towards the empty nearest spawner cage, and that way you could also easily tell whether it's connected or not, whether it sees it or not. Yeah, I think it would be cool.
There you
That
go,
would be a cool
Kirk.
party.
So I'm one of these effects now, okay?
You're one of the spawner charters,
And
yeah.
behind me, so like what I do is, I spawned over here and I'm spinning around, looking for a spawner, and then I see a spawner, and now I'm walking towards the spawner, and the spawner is over here, and now I'm spinning around the spawner, and I found the spawner, and then over here is another spawner, so I'm walking towards the spawner, and now I go in the spawner, and I live here now. Maybe.
Conceptually, yeah. You'll drag towards the nearest cage, basically, empty cage.
I can become a not particle effect now if you want. Or I can stay like this, that's fine
Those particles are nice, special. They'll make it seem like the soul well is being dragged towards the spawner. It's very nice.
But did you like... Well, I'm walking backwards right now. That's why the particles are like spewing
Oh,
out
I didn't
of my
pay
face.
attention to that at all.
But like
I would
the
make it so that
particles
the,
go
that the
backwards.
particles always go from the soul well to the empty spawner cage it's dragging. So it's being like sucked in.
Because if I look at the spawner, the
Yeah, like
particles
that.
go towards it.
Yep.
So you want this to be the...
Yeah.
It's not like a fuel source that goes back.
No. It's the
tracks.
souls being dragged towards the... Some of the souls in the charge going towards the cage.
Okay. Sure. And then when it finds the spawner, it just... Oh,
If it finds a spawner in block form, then it will just make that spawner from an empty spawner to whatever
Yeah.
it had stored in itself. If it's spawner in minecart form, then
That's
it will just
scrolls
hover around it.
Yeah, it does a bit like this.
Yeah, I'd say it's just inside it, otherwise the circle motion might be a bit overcomplicated.
Yeah, okay.
It orbits. Pull back in the orbital mechanics.
Couldn't you do an orbit though?
Guess you could. I don't know how easy it will be. That's like implementation details.
Alright, well,
Okay.
I like
Protocols
this
are
idea.
so weird.
Okay, I think that actually sounds kind of solid. I haven't checked Discord in a while. Do I want to write something here? No? Okay, so maybe we should call it a day. This stream has been going for a long while. We've got an idea
That's
now.
been going for a while.
Okay, so Mizzard, before we can wrap this up, for context for stream viewers, Mizzard is one of the other data pack directors on Game4. Mizzard, what do you think of the revised idea with the limited tracking range, so you don't have issues with like going through unloaded chunks or breaking stuff that you can't see, and then having to like escort the entire thing to your base. The challenge being you want to plan the geometry of the track in a way that the soul charge well thing never shoots through like any important build, because if that happens, it will turn stuff in its way into Scout.
Are we still doing like it summons, like the soul well summons mobs at all, or was it just Skulk?
I would just do Scout, but we could do also some.
It
like,
could summon the
weapons.
Vex thing.
I'm not sure about that. If it's
Vexes
needed.
can't have anything on their heads anymore, so it's hard to make those look reasonable.
Right.
Yeah, or it's invisible with something in its hand, or it's just a bunch of particle effects around it and invisible.
Okay, Wizard selects the darkness idea better, but he's happy to see a prototype either way.
How would the darkness concept be fitted into this stuff?
Not at all.
No,
It would be a different concept at all.
because we can't have darkness either at the. You
Either
can't have the darkness at the soul well.
yeah,
Yeah, no,
inside
the
blocks.
darkness thing doesn't work with this. That
Does
would be a different concept.
the soul well spawn mobs still?
No,
That's what we just said. I would say no.
Well, no, like
that's
mobs
difficult.
mobs from the spawner.
Oh, from the spawner.
Like
How do we save that?
You could emulate that. But I
You
would
could
say
emulate it or
no.
have can you emulate it?
No.
Not easily.
It just becomes a soul thing.
If you did that, then people would probably try to farm these, and I don't want that.
Farm the soul well?
Yeah,
Oh, because it'd be
It's
like
just
just another
infinite-
spawner. You
just an infinite
move the
spawner.
cage too far away and it's just another spawner. Okay.
yeah. No, it doesn't spawn anything. It just turns things around it into Scout.
But
And
doesn't
maybe
it spawn
spawns-
anything dangerous? Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's needed that it spawns those things. I guess you could make it so, and then you'd encourage the player to stay kind of far enough from the soul well, but also not too far away.
Mhm.
Um,
To keep.
So the
track
danger
on it,
that the
but
soul
not
well
by
presents
two.
is just Skulk?
yeah, I
So
would
why
say
were
so.
they
Just-
caged in the first place? Like, what's the
Well-
purpose of the cage? To turn it into an entity? Or to keep it from spawning Skulk? Because Skulk itself doesn't seem that evil, I guess.
I don't care about that, but it will be a fun challenge to move stuff around and having to make sure it doesn't turn to Skulk. When I say turn to Skulk, I don't mean the just turn stone to Skulk. I mean turn everything to Skulk.
Well, maybe not rails, right?
Well, maybe not rails and probably
Well-
not tile at least.
The rails after would be fine, because I mean, it's
Full-
rails the cart's already gone on.
There are no Skulk half blocks, so probably only full collision.
Like, do you
So
want
full
it to
blocks turn into Skulk.
keep
Yes,
in
full
mind
collision.
this will become an XP source in that case, because Skulk has XP
Skulk
in it.
isn't an amazing XP source.
Skulk is a really crappy XP source.
Because it's 1 XP per block, which is very little.
Okay.
People try to build XP storage in block form of Skulk, and it's just not worth it because it has so little.
You have a
Interesting.
point,
Okay.
it's spawning infinite amounts of Skulk. And like, this is a better Skulk farm than making a mob
Oh,
killing
you don't have
catalyst.
to. You don't have to spawn it that quickly. You can just mess a build up by spawning the occasional Skulk block already. It will look ugly.
Yeah.
And I guess you could turn into an XP farm if you just let the soul hover around a certain point and then break it. But oh well. It would probably be slower than using the spawner itself. I'd
Yeah.
assume. Okay, let's call it a day. Though we've been here for way too long. We have
What
a
time
plan
is it?
down now.
Okay.
It's just before 1.
It's been like 2.5 hours. Oh, 2 hours 22 minutes. I have a clock on my timer on my
Oh.
stream platform on OBS. Thanks, OBS.
So I guess we've got something to make a prototype of at least.
Yep.
Yeah.
I won't get to it quickly, but we got the ideas down. I'll transcribe that into the internal document and then also transcribe that to GitHub issues. Well, nah, it's not on the GitHub issue state yet.
Yeah,
but
don't put it in GitHub issues. I think we need to prototype it and maybe even a
prototype it, yeah.
playtest stream. That would be fun.
All right.
I like
thank you for
streams.
watching,
Streams
whoever's
are
still
fun.
here. We'll see you guys next time, whenever that is.
Yeah. We might.
And
The next stream that I can think of that might be happening would maybe be the like a prototype stream of this. You know, looking at the prototype, but I don't think it's for at least a couple weeks. Potentially, I know we all have like next week. We're all dispersing across the globe or something. So
yeah. I also gotta go now, so we gotta wrap it up. Alright. Thanks for being with us, Special and Crackers.
Thank you for having me.
And
yeah,
Good
where
night
are you,
from
Blue?
Europe. I'm up here under the skull
There you are. Hello.
block thing.
You gonna hold hands for the last second?
No, I'm just getting an F5 shot.
Just holding Spawner.
We need to
Bam.
put a heart effective of you too.
Alright.
All right. Yeah,
Bye.
thanks for stopping by. We'll catch you around. Join our Discord if you're not there. We'll probably have discussions about the contents of the stream. In like chats and stuff as everyone yells at us these ideas are terrible or something like that.
They will. They will.
All right. See y'all around. I know
Yeah.
how to end the stream this time.
Nice.
Okay, it's only us three in this call, by the way.